Hey, welcome back to Behind the Design. This is our second time doing this. This is the creative team, the comm team, if you didn't know them. We did this last time for our series through Kingdom Cultural, and the whole idea was to give people a glimpse into kind of the creative process and the thoughts and intentions and work that went in to the back end of a series. This is one of our most unique series that we've ever done. Developing story has a lot of unique and new elements to it. So I'm super excited to unpack it. It was also, I think, we can talk about this for a second here, but I think it was one of the harder projects we've taken on as far as just the conceptual phase of it. Like a lot of other series, we have an idea a lot sooner. This one, we were kind of floating without an idea for a while. So, I mean, it was a difficult process at the beginning, to say the least.
It was really difficult.
Yeah. It felt like we were just kind of treading water, trying to come up with an idea. Basically, if you didn't watch the first Behind the Design, the way that the process kind of works is we'll get kind of a layout for a series from Pastor Todd, and he'll give us kind of, hey, here's the goals and objectives for this series. Here's the kind of scriptures that we're going to be covering and what we're wanting to do. So what we got from him was titled JC in the First Five, and it was helping us see Jesus in the first 5 books of the Bible, right? Yeah. So it was a tentative title that was put there in place. It was a funny title, but that was it. JC in the First 5. And then, hey, here's the different examples of types of Christ that we want to look at throughout the first 5 books of the Bible that kind of foreshadow Jesus coming. So we get that, and us and a couple other people on our team, we get together for a creative team meeting. Let's talk about that process and kind of where we got started first.
Or JC in the First 5. I just think about Michael Jackson again. Literally Jackson 5.
Yeah. So there was very closely a Jackson 5 version of the series. Didn't happen, didn't work. But
did not work. Yeah.
There was, I think, some ideas of could we do a band thing, a tour thing or something like that, But I honestly think creative team-wise, it was one of the better creative meetings that we had. There were a lot of good ideas that went around. Let's talk about what some of those ideas were that different people presented.
Yeah, I remember specifically we had I think a couple different inspiration ones. We had one that was more narrowed towards an image or iconography that would build to something. So imagine almost puzzle pieces, and that's where we found this politician intro video. But then we also wanted to talk about, right, it was Renaissance paintings and what other things of can we take old things and kind of put them in modern context and stuff. We had a bunch of other ideas, but that were right, because that was one of the better ones that we had, where I think we had at least 4 or 5 ideas that we were this could work, but we just didn't know which one yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it was cool because they were all diverse. We had some stuff from a really cool kids Bible. We had some mixed media animation stuff, as well as the politician intro, which is really different, and just so many different ideas. So it was really cool.
Yeah. Lots of, I think, people who got the idea, the concept of the series, right? We want to help people see Jesus in these different facets of these Old Testament stories. So, we'll show you some examples here of what some of that looked like. A kid's Bible that we looked at that kind of looks at how Jesus is echoed in every single story in the Old Testament is kind of the whole goal of that kid's Bible. So it was well, that's a great idea because that's exactly what we're trying to do with this series. But we found the art style a little bit challenging to replicate, but not only that, I think it just didn't quite feel summery to us, and maybe a little too juvenile as well. So we wanted it to feel like summer because this is a summer series for us. So we moved on from that. We had a great idea of some Renaissance paintings, but it felt like when we were coming off of Kingdom Cultural and the painting kind of aesthetic that we had just had to that felt a little too redundant for us. We just kind of did this same kind of a vibe. And then the politician intro, such a cool idea to what we're trying to do, not a show that we're recommending or endorsing in any way, shape, or form, but was brought up as a really cool introductory thing because it shows these different compartments that make him up. and then kind of like seals the lid, and it's like there's all these things contained inside this politician. And it's like in the same way, that's kind of what we're talking about with Jesus here. And so it was a cool example of that.
Yeah. No, because it was like that was the kind of the challenge of it is how do we actually take this cool concept of Jesus both reflecting and talking about these stories and then how it actually parallels both of them, but it actually pushes the story forward. So we kept going back to like, okay, we can either make something that flows from a creative idea that we know will look cool or whatever, but we couldn't crack well, it needs to make sense as far as how to support the people teaching it. Like we need to be able to have like, if there's going to be a story here, how can we actually help them see that and actually help people realize that it's like it all kind of develops, right? And that's what we started coming up with. Like we debriefed as a team, right? And then we like kept cracking it. Like what can we do to make this summer scene or summer themed? And so we finally got our decent like groundwork of an idea, right? Because what was the idea we landed on?
Well, what happened was we were stuck title wise. The creative team meeting was really good for ideas, but title, we just didn't get anything. I don't think we had a lot of like big ideas that stood out to us. So we were like, let's come up with a title. And then we started thinking about, well, the title has to match the series aesthetic. What does that mean? We came up with this idea initially actually of Polaroids because when you take a Polaroid, you don't know what the picture is going to look like until it develops, which is kind of what these Old Testament stories are. They're confusing, but then when you see how Jesus fulfills them, it all makes sense. But like that also just didn't work out. But we landed on kind of this like vibe of like photography, but like old analog photography. So think film, Polaroids. And so we had a couple different titles. Jackson, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's a great kind of, it was almost like we have all these good ideas for the series, but none of them feel like they could kind of carry the whole package. Because what we've talked about before as a team is the worst thing that we could do as a team is put all this work in and put together a package for a series that people look at it and they go, what? Like it's confusing. And we're not actually, our job is to help whoever's speaking and help like set the table for them where they can just kind of run and get going and be a framework that they can like work within, and it can be a benefit to them, not a hindrance. And so that's where we like really want to lean into that. So we thought, man, this different compartments of Jesus, that's going to be challenging for different speakers throughout the series to pick up. There's some cool aesthetics maybe in like that mixed media approach, but that's not really going to work for us. But once we started talking Polaroids, we were thinking, hey, Polaroids are trendy. They've got kind of like cultural moment right now. But then that spun us out on this whole direction of film photography. And you talk about summer aesthetics with a film photography and stuff like that. And as we started talking, it's like, why do we like this Polaroid idea so much? And it's like, it's because of the way that film develops. That's what we're drawn to, right? So I mean, and our ideation went from, we started with Jesus Christ in the first five, right? That was the opening, JC in the first five. That was the opening one that we got. But then we had like waiting for the final picture. That was going to go with the Polaroid, where it's like, hey, we've got this picture, but we haven't seen what the final picture looks like yet. And so we were thinking, okay, this is moving towards something that could be a help to speakers as they're presenting this kind of complicated idea, trying to help people understand, man, we see Jesus in the Old Testament. We're waiting for this final picture. We see that in Jesus. And then we started getting into like Jesus develops the whole picture. So, maybe we see part of the picture, but not the whole picture. And so then we were thinking, is there a way that we could show a Polaroid that was like halfway developed, but not all the way developed? So we started getting into this idea of maybe like a compromise Polaroid, right? So this is kind of this Polaroid progression that we're on as we're brainstorming it. And then like different things like Jesus makes different statements we're trying to make that could be subtitles. Jesus makes the Old Testament make sense. Everything looks different now, right? Like again, trying to get to that viewfinder feeling thing. And then as we're going, I don't remember exactly how it came up, but I just remember we're thinking about this idea of developing and film developing in this like catalytic event, right? That's what's so beautiful about the idea to the series idea is developing film is a catalytic event where you take something that's mysterious and unknown and it becomes clear and beautiful. And it's like, that's exactly what Jesus does to the Old Testament, right? He is the catalytic event that develops the Old Testament so we see it in a new way. And so then it was like, dude, when we're like watching the news or something, we're like, and we're back with this developing story, like a story that's in progress. And it's like, bro, that's it. Like that's what we're
you guys have no idea. Like we were literally like for a meeting in like maybe 2-3 hours, we were like spitting every idea we possibly could. And like that's great. Like that's how things happen, right? But I remember we were having trouble, right? Because you made versions like this with the Polaroid, the half versions.
Yeah, it just didn't really work well composition wise. I think it was hard to honestly put together and make a cohesive graphic for things like notes, and then we were talking about slides, and it just wasn't making sense. Then it was like, what are we going to put in the Polaroid? Is there going to be a Renaissance painting of Jesus? Renaissance paintings again, I guess.
Yeah, so then it's like we're back to that idea somehow. Yeah, and the Polaroid was like, it was such a neat idea in theory, but we couldn't get the stock image that we were looking for, right? That was a big issue. So we couldn't find the right stock photo. We were having a really hard time figuring out how do we, and this actually sample image that you still have from the archives here, Gabby, is like a great example of, we were trying to get that kind of half-developed Polaroid, but then it's like, what do we do with the text and what else, and how do we still make this feel like summer and exciting and light and all.
Or even like realistic in a sense. Like a lot of times if we're doing more realistic things, like it's our tendency as designers to like look at it in the lens of like how, if I'm looking at this image, how would I look at it in real life? And I remember me and Gabby, you were talking about like, then what picture if someone's taking a picture of Jesus, he ain't around anymore. So it's like, we don't know what we're taking a picture of. Like, do we use a picture from The Chosen? Do we use a Renaissance one? Do we make it intentionally look like they're taking a picture of a picture, basically? Yeah. So it's like, it just kept getting more degrees separated of like, is this as realistic as we can make it? But,
and are we making it more confusing now, right? Like we've got this like Polaroid thing, we've got this Renaissance painting of Jesus, and you're like, what? Like it's just a little bit confusing now. And so then, like, whenever we hit a snag like this, generally, especially on the design front or on a video front, you guys will come back to me like, we're stuck. Like, what are we going to do here? And so, it comes back with, what kind of image do you have in your head? And so I go to Google, right? And I'm like, what image do I have in my head? And how can I help you guys see what I see in my head and how we might be able to bring that together? And so I start Googling for,
I just want to stop you really quick. Yeah. Dude, every time when we're stuck, Jackson is the best. Seriously. Like I said it on the last podcast, saying it again. Great creative director. Yes. Amazing.
I want you to animate the text creative pastor right here.
So I just want to put that out there because this was challenging. And we're seeing it all right now, how it's really pretty fast, but this took to get to this point, like a week, 2 weeks?
It took, I would say, over the course of multiple months, we were probably doing the Polaroid thing for almost a month and a half, wouldn't you say, Gabby? We were working on the Polaroid thing and decided to totally scrap that direction. Yeah. And what I think is so fun about like our relationship and the relationship of our team is I have pictures and images in my head, but I don't have the actual skills and ability to be able to like get them out, right? Yeah. And you guys have the skills and ability to do that. And so we've got this cool like Moses and Aaron relationship, right? Where like Moses doesn't know how to talk, and so he has Aaron talk for him, right? And so it's like the same kind of a situation where it's like, I've got a picture in my head, but how do I get that out there? Yeah. And you guys help me get it out there. And so it's such a fun relationship that way, where I'm like, okay, we're stuck. How can I go back to the drawing board, get a clear picture in my head of what I'm thinking about, and then help you guys and work together, and we'll find a way to kind of get that image out there. Yeah. So I go looking and Googling, like I'm looking for, I'm back on this idea of compromise film, because I'm thinking, what if there was a series of images that were incomplete? right? So think about whatever summer images you could think of, right? Like a kid eating a hot dog and it's missing, right? Or like an ice cream cone, but half of it is missing, or somebody jumping into a pool or a lake, but half of it is missing. And so this kind of idea of like, this story isn't complete yet. It hasn't been fully developed. And so I go Googling for compromised film, which was a really oddly hard thing to Google because it kept trying to give me like movies. So it was like, here's the movie Compromised. And it's like, that's not what I'm looking for at all. So eventually we got onto these kind of like bad film images. So things like this, where it was like literally corrupted. Like it wasn't just like, oh, there's a big light leak in that. It's like, oh, this thing got exposed before it got developed. And so these images are actually like corrupted and broken. And I was really drawn to like, in some of them you can see where almost half of the image is almost missing because of it. And it's like, that's exactly the kind of a vibe that we're going for, is this missing piece to an image. Because we kind of can't see the full story yet. So that got us moving in a totally different direction from there. Let's go for like real, very summary events where now we had crystallized that developing story title. And so we're gonna go developing story. We're gonna give this very like real and crystallized summer feel, but it's gonna be this, half-baked image, this image that hasn't been fully developed yet or has been compromised. So let's talk a little bit about the process of then finding those images.
So the stock photos got us again because first it was the Polaroid stock photos did not work. This happened again because we couldn't seem to find exactly what we wanted. We found a ton of summer photos. I spent hours and hours on stock photo websites. My eyes hurt, everything. And we just couldn't seem to find anything. And we tried a bunch, like I said. And then for some reason, I really don't know how it happened, but then Jackson was messing around with ChatGPT's image generation thing, which is Sora, and somehow we ended up with something that started us in the right direction because we started thinking, maybe we don't find stock photos, let's try and make our own. So I'm gonna kick it back to you, Jackson.
Yeah, it was, well, because it's such a hyper-specific thing that we're looking for, right? Which is what's so cool about, this is where, you're gonna start to hear us talk about AI a lot here. This is what I think is so cool about AI as a tool. Oftentimes for a series or a creative project that we're working on, we have something very, very specific that we're looking for an asset, right? We either need a piece of a picture for a final design, or we need a total picture that's going to be kind of the core of the design, or we even need like video elements for B-roll and things like that.
The song,
we're looking for like really specific stuff, and we're unable to find specifically what we're looking for, and it kind of ends up watering down the end product.
Or it makes you like bend over backwards to like make it yourself. So like something tiny, you're like, I need a effect or a texture or whatever, or I need a song. It's like, well, what if I cut two songs together? What if I mess this together? So you're spending extra time trying to find the exact thing or make the exact thing. And like, it goes back to wasted time, which I think we're realizing more and more that like, if we use AI in a specific way, not only does save us a little bit of time, but it actually will convey our message that we're trying to do even better.
Yeah.
Not just a little bit of time. I feel like it saves us a lot of time because can we buy a film camera? Can we buy film? Can we develop film? We can. Is it going to turn out the way that we want it when it's developed? We don't know. That's the tricky part of film.
And not only time, but money, right? We've built our own sets for series in the past where we're like, okay, we can't find the stock photos we're looking for. Take Light and Life, for example. So we're just going to build our own set and shoot our own stock photos. And that ends up like a lot of money goes into buying whatever we need to buy for that. And then the time and effort and energy, we've got to shoot it, we've got to light it, we've got to get all these things right to make sure that it comes across the way we're hoping that it does. And that ends up being a ginormous project, not just in time, effort, and energy, because we're creatives. We love the time, effort, and energy that goes into something, but it's also money and resources. And beyond a weekend teaching series, we have so many creative projects that are needed from us for our other ministries. So where we can save time and also get a pure image to what we're actually going for, it's a huge win. So first crack that we took at this, we kind of took some cues from some different prompt kind of help that we looked for, of like how would we craft a prompt to even get what we're wanting. And so we had to kind of go from scratch, because you might notice if you've played around with AI before, you can't just kind of put something in there and expect to get something great back. And so there's a art and a science to it. So I mean, we're talking threads and threads and threads of us trying to kind of get these images. So here's this kind of first batch of images that we got. They, at the time, felt like they were good, but looking at them,
we were like, dude,
we're like, this is exactly what we're looking for. Like, look at this film feel. But then, like, now, like, looking at them, they just look so AI. Like, they look so fake and not real, and just, like, distorted in weird ways. But we got this picture of Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah, that was the one.
And it was like, that was the one where we were like, yes, like this is, we're headed down the right track here, because that's exactly what we're looking for. And it took probably another 2 weeks of me working on different prompts and stuff, because what I couldn't figure out is why I liked this picture so much. I couldn't put my finger on what makes this one work and others not work. And it took me 2 weeks to get to this, but it was the flash. It's the flash that makes it feel real and makes it come to life. And so that was the thing now for the next wave of images that was like, okay, we need to make sure that all of these have the compromised film feel, they have the scratches and the dust and all of that. But on top of that, they need to have this flash and be at dusk, and that will give us this cohesive look across every week, this kind of summer at dusk, bright flash. It kind of brings these stories into modern times and keeps this film aesthetic that we're looking for. So when
if you saw like how detailed these prompts were, you'd be like, that's insane. Like paragraphs upon paragraphs of like, just to get this.
Yeah, we're putting a little paper in there. Yeah.
And me and Jackson going back and forth on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hey, we found it. No, this
What
one's
if,
better.
what if we try this one? What if we try this prompt? Yeah. And ultimately just images that look so much more real and so much more usable for us. They have a common aesthetic across all of them. I mean, these are so specific, we could never get these on a stock photo website. And so the ironic thing is, we, beyond LED backgrounds, we didn't end up using these images for a lot. And even our LED backgrounds, we cut all these guys out, and it's just kind of more the ambiance of the environment than anything else. So it's funny sometimes when you're putting together a series like this, you can sink a lot of time into something that's like, oh man, we've got assets now. And then it's like, oh, those aren't assets I guess we're gonna use all that much. So that was how we started crafting that. And then we got back to, hey, now we've kind of got images per week, which kind of bring a unique element to each week of the series. But on top of that, we still need that core image. So that, Gabby, you kind of took from what you were seeing we were doing with getting these kind of week-to-week images, and you kind of worked on generating and putting that together. So bring us through that process.
Yeah, so the problem I was having with the stock photos is they didn't look right, and I couldn't get really what I wanted, what I wanted was some guy jumping into the lake, but in the correct position so that half could be cut off in not a weird way. And it just seemed like that stock photo did not exist. So then Jackson started doing this, and I was like, okay, well, let me try. So it was kind of simple, but also took forever. I just made a ton of different guys jumping into the lake over and over and over until we got the final graphic that we have for the developing story. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It turned out great. I'm really happy with it, and I think that's what we all had in our mind. So I think we landed it, because it just didn't seem, again, like that stock photo was gonna exist and also be like what we all had in mind for this series.
And you added kind of some film borders to it, and walk us through some of your font selection there as well.
So I actually did a lot to the image. I put all the film burns on top of it. I think it has a slight one somewhere, but I think it's kind of covered. I also thought it looked a little bit odd, just the film burns. So to add context, I put in that kind of film border. I didn't want to do the one with the little rectangles on the edge because that's doing too much. There's already a film burn. And then Anakin and I think found this image, or not this image, but this font by accident on Creative Market. And we were like, wait, let's try it. Because I remember it was Friday and I was so stuck on the font. I was like, Anakin, can you help me? And he was like, okay, let's try. And then we found this font, which is super cool. I think it's meant to be a summer font, actually. And then it also has that film. It has those like stripes, which give it that really retro feel, which I think is also cool because thinking about this series now, and I didn't think about it making it, but because we're doing kind of a throwback to the Old Testament, it's really cool. We have this retro feel because it's almost like that's a throwback to the Old Testament in the way we kind of constructed this as well.
That is cool. That hadn't occurred to me until right now. That is a cool observation.
Like, I remember, like, if you're a designer or anything, you like just throw up like Creative Market or font, whatever, just to try and find something. I remember we scrolled through like, I don't know how many pages, like on the big TV. And then I saw this and I was like, try that one. I was like, try that one. And it turned out working great.
Yeah. It feels very campy, and which fits with that retro summer nostalgia that we're trying to kind of bring throughout the different elements of the series. So I think that's such a good, such a good pick, you know, font wise there, and a great kind of solid landing image for like, yeah, this is the vibe of the series, and then the ability to carry that creatively through LED backgrounds and all of that, all through AI generated images, allowing us to get specific with the kind of vibe that we were looking for. And then this is where kind of our use of AI goes to new places. We've used AI before for image generation and even some video stuff for some stuff we've done for students and stuff like that. But this kind of brought us to a whole new level. So Solder's kind of messing around one day in the office. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, you tell us.
They wanted me to. They doubted me.
It was you. It was you.
They doubted my abilities to create a hit song. I was like, guys, me and Jackson been back and forth with AI stuff. We're pretty good at this stuff. And so I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, I'll show you guys. And created a hit. I think it's a hit. It's a country hit. It's called Held by Grace. I think it's awesome. Has more of that Kane Brown vibe to it.
And I'm sitting there working. And I just,
we were all just working.
I just hear this over the speakers, and I'm like, what is going on? Like,
They doubted me, bro.
and I think Anakin and Gabby knew because you guys were cracking up, and I'm like lost. Like, why are we like this is just a weird song for Solder to be playing at work. And it was so good that I was like, I was blown away to find out that it was AI because it was that good.
Because this program, right, it's called Sona. It had just came out, and I think what people don't necessarily know unless they're like fully more dialed in to the AI space like we are, is like this keeps coming up where like we couldn't have done any of this like literally 3 months ago. Like something new keeps happening, and of course there's like all the concerns about all that. But then this time we were like, wait, hold on, like let him cook. We were like, we would joke at him and we'd be like, bro, you're never gonna do it. And then this is when we started being like, wait, this might actually turn into something.
Yeah, he turns on his speakers and this is what comes on for us, and we're like, dude, it's a real song.
This had all our heads perk up. We were like, what?
Yeah. Solder just goes, hey, listen to this.
I just look at Anakin. I'm like,
He did.
You knew what you did.
I knew.
I think he even took his headphones off. He's like, listen to this.
Cranked it up. We gotta let it get to the chorus because it's all about the chorus, you know. Just fair warning to everybody, this is gonna get stuck in their head, you know.
Yeah, you're never gonna get this out of your head.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great song, man. What can I say? You know. Held by grace,
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. It's iconic. So, anyways, as Sauter's doing that, I'm thinking this is wild. Like, this is a wild world that we live in. It's crazy that you're able to do that.
Yeah.
And I go home. I'm trying to describe to Sky what happened today. I'm like, so Sauter made this song. Like, it's just, but then here's the thing that I'm thinking about. I'm going back to remember that original thing that we talked about extensively with this series, especially. The worst thing that we could do and the most defeating thing we could do is put all this time and effort and energy into a series, and it's confusing to people. And so we were like, the whole time, we were like, how do we make this as clear as possible? Like, we've got a really cool aesthetic and vibe, but that's not enough to carry us through. So we really want to make sure that we're as clear as possible throughout the thing, that this, Jesus is doing this catalytic thing to Old Testament stories that's bringing in new beauty and new life to it. So the really only other element that we have to offer to this is the bumper. Yeah. And generally, if we're going to make a bumper specific, our option is text on the screen or a voiceover, a voiceover with text on the screen. Yeah. But if you pick a song, it's just going to be a cool song and probably some text on the screen generally, maybe some images. But if it's images and song and that's it, then it needs to be so clear, because that song's just going to be a cool vibe to kind of get the energy up for the message, and then we're off. And so the series already has to be so clear if that's what we're going to be. So I had been racking my brain already, man, what are we going to do for a bumper that's going to bring some clarity to what we're trying to accomplish here? So as I'm sitting there processing what I just heard come out of Sauter's computer, and I'm just thinking, maybe there's an opportunity here. Maybe there's an opportunity to build something musically that would like support the series. So I go into ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, here's the series that we're doing. A series called Developing Story. We're trying to help people bring this film emphasis, see how Jesus develops the story and all this stuff. And so I said, could you write a song for me that would be, and I told it, I said, I want a folk song, because back to this, I mean, campy, bonfire, summer, retro, analog, nostalgia vibe. It just felt like it's got to be folk music. Like, there's just no other option. And so I was like, a folk song that kind of ties this developing story theme together. And so I took that, then I take it over to Suno, and I start trying things, and I'm thinking, this is close. Like, we weren't where we wanted to be yet, but I'm thinking this is close. This was version 1 of the song that now plays for the bumper. Very different. Yeah. From the beginning.
Hearing this now, I'm like, what is this? Yeah.
It's funny looking back on this stuff where we felt like we were cooking here, but it wasn't quite there yet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the lyrics are different too.
Lyrics were different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my gosh, this is great.
I say no now because we know what it sounds like. We know it's supposed to be.
We were at the time. We were just like, no way.
This is amazing.
We're just thinking about this application. Like, this is so cool. What a cool way to drive home what we're wanting to do. Music gets stuck in people's heads, and all of this stuff. And so, really, from there, it was okay. We've got to, like, a lot of what you're seeing, and I hope what people are hearing here as we're talking about our use of AI in this series, is it's in no way, shape, or form the same work as buying a film camera and taking pictures ourselves, or as writing and producing and mixing a song on our own. So it's not the same work, but it's not like we push a button either. Yeah. There's a lot of crafting and time. So there's probably between this and what we ended up with, there's probably 20 to 30 versions of this song. Yeah. So there's a lot of music style shaping, and no, not this, but that. And so we're kind of, as we go, like, I don't like that, taking it back, we're trying to refine it. One of the things, though, that I wanted to refine as I got probably halfway through the process with this song was I feel like the lyrics aren't quite clear enough. Like what I wanted was I wanted more film emphasis in the lyrics. So we went back over the lyrics, did kind of a rewrite of the different lyrics, and then we got version 2 here, which was the first one that we got with the new lyrics, and it was the second one that we ended up going with. But this will give you yet another sense of what could have been the theme song. Again, very different.
But I like it. I like it.
Yeah, you can.
It's like I'm going down to Pirates right now.
We were honing some of that folksy vibe, but it was still too low beat for us. You know.
It's like brought to you by a banjo.
Yes.
Yeah.
But these are the exact same lyrics.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a developing story.
Hey, I like it, man. See, like every time.
It just
something
kept
new,
getting better.
It just kept getting better, and we're like,
Yeah.
no, this is it.
And
This is it.
And I think that's what's so cool about the creative process, because I don't even remember if you heard me say it. I remember when he finished it, we were like thinking, we were like, is there any way we could use this? And I remember telling him, we were like, at that point, dude, like just if you can't find a song, just make one.
Make a song.
Just make one if you can, or you know. And then like I think it was the next day we were like, let's refine it. And then it became something that like, how hard is it if you're a creative to find something that's just right? And we know what that feeling is of like, I was looking for this.
Yeah.
Now it's like you cut through all of that in the name of just trying to not just either cut the work, do the easy thing, take the easy way out, like steal from other people or whatever. No, you're literally just like, there's no better way for me to perfectly execute the idea I have than with this. And if I have this tool, why wouldn't I use it? Because look at the song that we have now.
Yeah, well, and it gives you a greater purity of your end product. Like generally what we end up having to do is make compromises along the way to our vision of like, well, we couldn't do X, Y, or Z because we couldn't find the assets that we needed to do X, Y, or Z. But this was like, we actually got to maintain the purity of our vision all the way through, even down to the music. And so version 2 of the rewritten lyrics, and this ended up being important, I'll tell you why in a second, but we finally get this, what we're very familiar with now.
This is after like 100 times.
Yeah, a lot of work. But you hear those O's and you're like, okay, this is gonna be upbeat and engaging.
Yes.
It feels like and sounds like the series.
And then when this guy kicks it in, we were like, damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and this has now in that rewrite, Dark Room, Reel of Hope was cast, and you've got flashes in this and different things like that.
I think you kept saying it, it's this chorus. Like everything goes, like it's just hits so well,
Yeah. It keeps really high energy, which is exactly what we needed for that bumper.
Safe to say we were pretty happy. We were pretty happy with what we got.
Dude, I love this song.
Yeah, and this actually gave us the tagline for our series.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We had so many different, Jesus develops the story, so many different things. And we were like, man, if that's going to be the final line of the chorus, Jesus is the focus of this developing story. It's like we should land on that.
Yeah.
And so we actually took that from the chorus and added that to the graphic. So it created this really cool cross-pollination then between those things.
Yeah.
But what was cool was on the program we were using, once we had this, it kind of allowed everything to click from there, because what we're able to do is make something called a persona, where we take the style of this music and the person's voice used in this song, and we then are able to repeat it across other songs. So now you're moving from a song to the potential of an album. So once we saw that we could do that, it was just like, I wonder if a cool creative element for this would be to put out an album and line up the songs to the different weeks of the series. We have this great summer anthem theme song already, and we were thinking we might need to put this out because we like it.
Yeah.
Some other people might be asking, hey, where's that song? So we were like, maybe we should put it out just so people can at least have it. But then thinking through, man, what a cool thing. Like, because hear our heart behind this. Not to get rid of worship music, not to replace worship music with AI written music, but to say, hey, here's the themes and ideas of the weekend message. Can we have songs that reinforce the themes and ideas of the weekend message and put those out there and make them available to our church family so that throughout the week they can be reinforcing what they heard on the weekend? And it was like, that would be a really cool use of this tool that allows us to put out music that we would never be able to put out on our own or produce on our own or whatever. So we go back to the drawing board. Hey, how do we let's start putting an album together. How do we keep that same theme and that same feeling across these different weeks and put an album together? And we had some great input from some different people who said, man, there's got to be, like, you can't make them all exciting. Like, there's got to be some like roller coaster to the album. There's got to be some slower songs. And we were like, oh shoot, that's a good point. And so now this work that we put into this first song, just multiply that out times 7 or 8 other songs that we put together on this album, and to get different looks and lyrics and lyric rewrites and things like that all put together. I mean, had the hardest time saying the name Melchizedek. That was like, there were some that were just non-starters to begin with. It's like, you don't know how to say Melchizedek, so we can't use that
Not
one.
you. Yeah.
Not you. So yeah, that was, for people who have been wondering why the album, that was kind of our heartbeat behind it, was, man, what a cool potential use case for this tool, and for us to be able to just reinforce the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think my heart behind it too, why I was so excited about it, was not because it was going to replace any worship music. As much as we were joking about, like, let's throw a concert just to have fun, right? It was summer series, at least the time that we have been here, we have loved being able to do things that are fun and unique over the summer. Like the Game Changer cards were some of the coolest things that I think our church family has engaged with. So it wasn't just like a creative element to do something. It's like, we want to be able to create this to be engaging. Like, we remember the engagement we had with that, and we were trying to crack with being like, do we just hand out Polaroids of pictures? Do we do whatever? This was like, this is pretty dang unique. Like, not many churches or not many other places can do that. And again, like, this all just is brand new. This has all just happened. For all we know, we could have been the first people that did this without even knowing it. But it's because all these little things fall into place where now, like in 50 years, there's a developing story album that went with the sermon series, like, which is pretty dang cool.
Yeah, like, and like Anakin was saying, like, our heart behind this was to give, our congregation the best experience in terms of like what the message is, how clear it can be, and how much we put into this series. This is a really memorable series. I don't think other series is as memorable as this, right? Because every time you go into service, there's that song, there's that bumper, those graphics. So it's really, really cool to like say, dang, we put a lot of hard work and a lot of heart behind everything that we did. Obviously we did use AI, but it's because of the time constraints and the financial constraints. Could we do this on our own? Of course. Yeah.
With unlimited time and unlimited budget.
Of course. But, just the time constraints and the budget constraints is just what we're dealt with. And I think it came out so good. And our hearts behind this was so pure. And just to glorify the Lord, in all of this.
And I think that's where creativity happens, is in the context of limitation, right? Like, that's where you need creativity. There's no creativity needed if you have unlimited time and unlimited budget. Like, let's go hire the most expensive and best music artists, and let's go hire the leading graphic designers and whatever, and creative directors and videographers and whatever. And then great, we'll have a great product at the other side of it, and we'll be super happy with that. But it's like, that requires no creativity. You have just a wide open canvas. Creativity happens in the context of limitation. And so our limitation is, we don't have unlimited budget. We're actually in a tight season as a church financially. Our limitation is we don't have unlimited time. This series is happening, and there's another series after it, and there's other projects that are needed that we need our time and attention. So within all of that, it's like, how can we, within the limitations that we have, both time and money and bandwidth, personal bandwidth as well, right? How can we put out a product that is going to, again, our goal with sermon series, we want to be helpful to the speaker. We want to set up the congregation well with the right vibe and energy of the series and even the ideas of the series. We want to put those seeds of thought in your head before we even get going into the message. And a lot of ways of thinking through how can we use some of these tools to even reinforce. There's so many hours of work that are going into each weekend message. Our job is not to create new content. It's to say, how can we reinforce the content that's already, that there's so much time that's already being put into making? How can we help support and reinforce that content that the weekend teacher is putting in? Because there's a lot of time and effort and energy that goes into that. And so we don't have to create new stuff. We've just got to create stuff that helps support that. And so that element of songs, a fun kind of creative approach this time to say, maybe that's a cool way that we could reinforce that. And not something we're like married to or a hill we're going to die on. Like every series has to have that. It's like, hey man, we're testing it out. You know, if you guys love it, if you're engaging with it well, then great, we'll do it again, you know, but if not, then that's okay. You know, like we'll move on to the next idea because we just want to do whatever we can to support the message well. And at the end of the day, that's our job.
That's like not just our job, but it's like we love doing our job well when it serves the speaker and when it serves the church that well. And it's like, where it all fires on all cylinders and it's cohesive and it's like both the idea that we envisioned, but also like we love to see it executed and resonate with people well. Like that is purely what we want us to do in our jobs. So to hear and to see like a series like this where remind me of any other ones where like, this is pretty much our idea all the way through to a T, and it's the first time we were ever able to make that seamless. And that's really hard to do. Like, talk to any creative team of like how to make something cohesive. That is so hard to do. But the fact that we were able to do it, and not only that, but like people respond to it, people were wanting to know what the song was. Not even talking about the bumper. It's probably my favorite one that he's done so far. Like, it just killed it, dude. Like, I was super happy with it.
Yeah. And let's look at that here next. When we talk about the bumper, Sauter, there's a lot that went into that, right? I don't know if I have it here. All right, here it is, Sauter. You say when to pause, and you just tell me what we're looking at here.
So right now, you know, beginning, I was thinking about the wheat field, right? So biblically, you know, like God says, you know, I was thinking about that passage where God separates the good wheat from the bad wheat.
Okay.
And he's just
the wheat and the weeds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, just how it's supposed to grow, and just wait until, you know, the last, you know, when you're supposed to harvest it to separate the bad ones, right? And right here, just that developing story, in a sense, I was like, okay, like we don't know what's going to happen, right, in this whole series. And so God's showing like, hey, just trust me, trust me, trust me. Like, let it all grow right now. So that's why I chose to put that image right there. So Lost in the Wilderness, you know, get some retro vibes to it.
Summer
like
nostalgia here.
Summer nostalgia to it. Retro vibes. Just, you know, family, you know, what do you remember as a family? Going down to the beach, going to a picnic, you know, something good, wholesome, you know. So that's
so you're mixing some imagery here with also just the feeling, right, that we're trying to accomplish in this series. That's great.
So what I'm trying to do is imagery with the feeling, with the song as well.
Okay.
So I have to do all three of those things. Create the feeling, the right imagery, and the right stuff that the song says, and it has to like go on cue in a sense, and be all cohesive.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty hard thing to do when talking about video.
Yeah.
Because it all, if you pick the right video but the wrong transition or the wrong second clip,
You feel
it
it.
just
Yeah.
just ruins the
It's
whole
like
thing.
it doesn't go together
It doesn't
now.
go together, and
Yeah.
it just ruins it.
Yeah,
So,
there's a dissonance that you can feel, but you're working with, whereas like visually in a design, you might have, there's dissonance that's only going to happen between image and text, right?
Yeah,
Like that's where the dissonance is going to happen. Here, you've got dissonance that could be happening from text, transition, image,
everything.
even like the color grade,
Yep.
the music. There's a lot of things that, in sound design, there's a lot of things that can bring dissonance
The
to a
sound
video.
design in this
Yeah.
Yeah.
was insane.
could.
So
Yeah.
like
Yeah, tell people because they don't know every
so
effect
every
that's happening here.
every effect, every so imagine watching this without giggles, without birds, without wind noise, without fire crackling in the background, without any of that. So without footsteps, it would be a totally different video.
Yeah.
So the reason why I put this stuff in actually like a video bumper is because to immerse the audience into the actual video.
Yeah.
So it creates
So
that.
just so you're tracking, every effect that you're hearing beyond the song was
Was added.
placed there
Yep.
by hand by solder. So that's like, I just think people they don't diminish what we do. They just don't understand the work that goes into it. And so I want people to hear, man, there's a lot of intentionality.
And I think my favorite transition in this is the lightning strike.
Yeah. So the lightning strike, there's no lightning sound, right?
Yeah.
There's no the flashes that go on screen. There's none of that. So it's,
Yeah, let's watch this through and talk about some of the imagery here. So you've got father and son vibes here,
yeah,
Abraham and
so
Isaac.
That was Abraham and Isaac, right?
Okay.
So going up to get sacrificed. So everything. I'll tell you when to stop.
Okay.
Because there's like lots of like Easter eggs in
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll just play it through. Cool. So Abraham and Isaac, right? Fire, getting sacrificed, right? So that's that film nostalgic vibe. Can you pause it right there?
Yeah.
So I was having a hard time going from that transition. So can you go back a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so play it. So from the
So
roll
from
of hope,
here-
right?
Yep.
And then play it. Right there. That right there, we AI generated because I could not find something that would flow into the next scene
That felt like it fit
that
there.
felt that it fit. So that was perfect. I was like, okay, Jackson, can you help me out
Yeah.
in terms of like, hey, like we have to create some stuff, right? And we wanted to actually put, you'll see later on in the video, the Easter eggs where there is Melchizedek, there is, other, the snake and the bronze snake, for example. It's in there.
Yeah.
But if you're not paying attention, it's just gonna
Yeah.
go
All
over.
things that make it a very personal series to
Yeah.
us. Like it's very personalized and we've put a lot of different fingerprints on this.
Yeah.
And this has a lot of that compromised film aesthetic to the rest of the series. Yeah. So many great morning mist shots in here.
Oh yeah. So there's a lot of symbolic imagery as well. So a ton of lambs, right?
Yep.
So it was I think if I'm not mistaken, there was 3 lamb shot.
Yeah.
So just to understand, God's always in this.
Yeah, I mean, you've got those, that plays in so many different ways. You've got the animals on the ark, you've got the Passover lamb, you have a ram that was sacrificed in place of Isaac. So you have a lot. I mean, there's so much in the sacrificial system that points to Jesus. So it's such a good indicator. The Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world, right? I mean, there's just so much there.
And so it's a promise waiting to
Yeah,
exist,
tell people what you were
right?
thinking there, because
So
I
right
thought
there-
that
Oh
was
my
good.
gosh, I just got it. Bro, you're a freaking genius, dude.
Yeah.
So the reason why I actually got that image or that clip was because every time when we celebrate a birthday, we say, hey, make a wish before throwing out the candles. And so I was like, oh, cool. Like, this is a promise. A wish is a promise, Well, not a promise, but
Yeah,
you
but
know,
it's that, it's hope.
that hope.
Yeah, there's
right?
hope there.
Yeah.
So that's why I
Yeah.
put that specific.
Also went and found the sound for
yeah,
the,
yeah.
yeah.
So none of that is in there.
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, and then that promise coming to fruition, right?
A lot of
So
joy. Yeah.
everything. So it's cool.
Just a bunch of clips here of people laughing, having a lot of summer fun.
Yeah. So the ark, the family gathering and
For the Passover.
Passover, the elephants for the ark.
Yep.
So and just
that.
joy, right?
Yeah.
So
This girl's just having fun.
just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I used to,
I love this shot.
yeah. Like I remember I used to pillow fight with my brothers all the time. My mom used to hate it. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. So when everything that I'm like putting into place is to create that emotion. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just nostalgia, nostalgia, joy,
And anticipation.
and anticipation for something that is
That is
promised.
coming.
Yeah.
That's good. This has some Noah's Ark
Yes.
vibes to it.
Noah's Ark,
Boat,
right?
water.
Still in the water,
Yeah.
burning bush, right? So that there's that snake,
Yeah.
right?
Two different AI images here back to
Yep.
back.
So that I couldn't find. Well, I did find a snake.
Yeah.
Totally wrong.
Yeah.
Did not fit the vibe at all.
Yeah. Not the right feeling.
Not the right feel and everything. And it was really hard to get Melchizedek as well.
Yeah. So we thought a priest,
Mm-hmm.
like let's get a kind of modern day equivalent that somebody would look at and be like, oh, a priest, and it's like, then you're like, how does a priest fit in all of this? And it's like, we kind of want you thinking that because it's like Melchizedek, like that's where this is going.
And my wife, Melissa, if you're watching this, you texted me, why do you have a priest in there? She did say that to me. And so, Melissa, this is for you,
Yeah,
okay?
it's in there on purpose, okay? He said you got to wait for the behind the design.
I literally did. It's like, we're going to talk about it.
But bronze serpent too, very unique, specific thing that we were looking for.
Yeah.
We loved that image. Anakin said it looked like it was at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like it was just a
Yeah,
really
so
cool, very like light and fun image, but also shot on film, so it keeps that same aesthetic.
And this is all AI, right? We're using AI to specifically get what we want to show, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, the heart behind this, we're just using AI as a tool, just like any other tool, just like my editing device, right?
Yeah.
Adobe.
Totally.
I'm using that as a tool.
Yeah.
Like a ton of stuff that we use nowadays, modern day, we use.
Yeah, using it the same way we use any other tool in our creative tool belt.
Yeah, and not even that, right? Remember, it's like the process for video is a little bit different. You start with an image. First you have to get an image generated that looks like it, and then you have to try and make it come to life. And there's all kinds of wonky things. So like, just getting an image to work is already hard enough, and then getting it to be brought to life.
Oh, that's a different ball game.
So
Different ball game.
Already the fact that these clips are only like a few seconds long, but they don't tweak your AI stuff in your brain.
Yeah.
Great.
More lambs.
Yeah.
Little glory action there.
Yeah. So just, and then at the end, right, just a family in the table, right? Just waiting for, because traditionally Passover, like in a Jewish concept, at the end of a Seder, they recite, when is Ezekiel going to come back, right? Or Elijah going to come back, sorry. And they're waiting for that promise. Yeah. So that's what's cool about like a Seder Passover dinner.
Picking up
as
on
well.
that vibe.
Yeah.
There's so much anticipation in that as well.
Yeah.
Oh. Bro, why are there ad rolls in our sermons?
Hey, that's weird because we turned it off, right?
They're monetizing us without telling us.
And to get it to come into Gabby's graphic, I was like, okay, I can't just slap her graphic on there. There has to be a transition. So I did to get to that one, it took me like 3 times. Yeah. Because I was like, okay, let me do this, and it's a program called After Effects because it's not always that I have to like put in time to see if it actually works and if it actually flows. Yeah. And so I'm just happy that I found, After Effects template that actually worked. Yeah. or else, you know.
And really cool too, the song that we generated allowed us to pull the stems from the song,
Oh, yeah.
which allowed us
Totally
a
forgot
really
about that.
seamless end to the. That's the other thing. Even when we use stock songs, sometimes they don't always come with the stems. Which, for people who don't know, the stems are where you break apart the different instruments that are involved in the song. And so having the stems gives us that control on the editing side, where we're able to say, okay, let's go take the end of the song now and find a way to transition this chorus into the end of the song so that there's this really seamless ending that then sets up the speaker really well. So,
And what's cool about it was like, I was like, okay, it's done, guys, it's done. And I showed it to the comm team and specifically to Jackson. I was like, hey, like, what do you think? He was like, yeah, the ending's kind of weird because I didn't have the ending of the song. Yeah. I was like, dude, we have all the stems. I was like, no way. And so me and Jackson and basically the comm team were just by my desk and just finessing it to the point where it seamlessly flows till the end, you know? So it's cool.
yeah.
Lots of stuff that we don't think about when we're watching a graphic, right? When we're coming up with a graphic or a video. Or a song even. Lots of stuff, lots of hours, lots of heart and dedication goes behind it. And I'm just happy that we get to talk about it. Because if we didn't, no one would know.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to bring people in on the process. I'm proud of you guys, proud of us as a team. I feel like there's a lot of our fingerprints and intentionality across this series, which is really encouraging. And a product that I think we're proud of. We hope that you as a church enjoy it and benefit from it, and also benefit from hearing the work and thoughtfulness and intentionality that goes into it. You might not love every creative decision that we make. You might not love that we used AI in different parts of this series, but I hope you can appreciate the different really levels of intentionality and creativity and process that we brought to this, because we take it seriously, we care about it, and that's developing story, you guys. It's officially wrapped. We did it. So good job, and we'll keep making these. We'll bring you back into the next series. We've got a really fun one coming up in the fall, where we've got a new campaign that's coming in the fall. That's going to be a lot of work and a lot of creative effort that's going into that. And even some stuff that we decided not to use from this series that we're planning on using in that series. So it'll be fun to bring people in on that.
Hopefully lots of cool, hopefully a lot of new ideas, and keep going.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, you guys. I hope this has been a blessing and encouragement to you. This has been episode 2 of Behind the Design, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
If you guys stayed till right now, and if you want that song, Held by Grace, just comment the word Held by Grace.
Maybe just Grace.
Just Grace.
Yeah, just comment Grace.
Just comment Grace, and we'll send you a link to Held by Grace.
Sauter will. Sauter's personally accountable to send you a link.
If you comment it, we get 10 comments. He'll use it in a recap video on the weekend. That's going to be why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We get 10 of them, we'll see.
Yeah, 10 comments
10 streams.
and 20 likes. There.
10 comments and 20 likes will publish Held by Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. Great.
There we go.